You're going to plug my shirt?
No, mine.
Welcome to the Instinctive Influencers podcast, a show where influence becomes one of your tools for success. Now, here are your hosts, Brian Weber and Ed Haley.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And I am James.
You know, Ed, you're killing me.
I almost forgot that.
See, I called you Ed. I didn't call you James. James, I have to go through, you know how many things I have to go through now, and I got to change the name, like whether it be, you know, just the bot. Like even when people look us up on the podcast stuff, like they'll see Brian Weber and Ed Haley. Now I got to go change that.
I know. Yeah,
it's not
but
that
you
hard.
know what? It's like the circle. That's the circle. James is who the people in the circle. So now the audience is in the circle.
Yeah. Well, I may have to find another intro just to, you know, I'll hook it up. We'll see what happens. I may have a few. There's a guy in my class. He's got the voice for it. So I may see if he'll record.
I mean, 100 plus episodes. I mean,
hey, you know, what can I say?
Can't be wrong.
It can't be wrong at all. Can't be. Let's see. You brought up earlier we were talking, so we've actually been sitting here talking for almost an hour.
I know.
And then we decided to actually record, you know, hit the button. Yeah. You brought up you're trying to hit a bike goal. A cycling goal.
My goal for the year is 3,200. I do want to do a century ride too, but I think I'm gonna wait till I get back to Clarksville because they do one there. I want to do a century ride. I just don't know if my backside is meant for a century ride. It's a long time in a saddle.
Yeah. Now, to me, it sounds like all you need to do is get you a nice pair of shorts that have the padding, and then get another pair of shorts that have the padding. Just put 2 pair on.
So I've been buying different ones. I actually prefer pants. I prefer like I have a pair of the pants. I have a pair of the capri kind of style. I've been trying some different companies. I think I finally found the one that, you know, this padding works.
I don't know if you can see.
I see
I'm about to show you. You can't see it. Oh, no. You can't see it. Anyways, it's funny. You said 3,200?
Yeah.
Better bump those numbers up, buddy. Mine's 39.
Well, my lucky number is 32, so mine's actually 32-32.
Yeah.
For the greatest point guard to ever play the game of basketball.
Look at you. Hey, speaking of, so we're going to transition. Have you seen there's advertisements for a new show dealing with the Lakers during that era?
Yeah, I wonder how much he's involved and how much it's like, because, you know, sometimes people make these shows and the accuracy is in question. Now, if they're involved, if he's involved, then I'm sure that it'll be a little more accurate.
So when I first saw the advertisement, I saw it's Adam McKay. You know, he's in it. And as soon as I saw him, I thought, oh, this must be a parody.
Yeah.
And then I started watching, and then I looked up a few things. It's supposed to be very accurate. That's what I'm reading.
Okay, he's very talented. He also does a lot for HBO. He's always partnered up with Danny McBride. He's doing Righteous Gemstones on there right now, which is okay-ish. And then he did the old Eastbound and Down, and, you know, of course, he's been partnered up with Will Ferrell.
Yeah,
so many times. So I mean, you know, you could change. I'm gonna watch it just because I'm a Magic guy. So I'm gonna watch it.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it just because I love that era of things that were taking place. And like, from what I gather, it's like the basketball part is part of it, but it's like everything behind the basketball, everything that took place. The signing, matter of fact, I mean, the commercial itself is the signing of Magic Johnson to the Lakers, you know, so
by Dr. Buss. Yeah.
That's
a great era of basketball, man.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. So on to other news. Let's see here. Just awaiting travel for you, and then orders for me, and then we start our journeys. My journey before your journey, actually, and then we totally get situated.
Closer though.
I think we'll be in the same time zone, and I think we've mentioned that before.
Yeah,
that's what makes it a lot nicer.
Man, that's better.
yeah. Because what people don't realize, like, we've been running this for the past few years because you're there and I'm here, and the time difference has been drastic. You know, like I have to get up at like 4 a.m. to record with you. At
well, that's because you need coffee and
other things take place.
Other things.
Yeah.
Well, and then on my side, so and it would be like, wow, Brian gets up early, but then you got to look at my side, and I have tasks I have to perform, such as dinner cooking, and when we record, you get off at 16:30, and then you're like, I still have to cook dinner. And my wife don't accept, like, I'm just going to throw something in the microwave. So tonight I'm off the hook. But yeah, like when you're cooking too, it's just going to be nice to be back in the same time zone. There's going to be some opportunities, maybe not this Christmas, but I know you and your family tend to come back to Dixon area for Christmas. So there's some opportunities there before you retire and join me in Tennessee. That we'll be able to record some stuff. Maybe we can, one of our early episodes here was the Christmas episode we recorded before we actually debuted, right? Back in 2019.
Yeah.
We recorded it. Yeah.
Are you sticking around that area for the Christmas this year?
I am not. I'm going to Disneyland. Which one's in Florida? World, Land?
That's Disney World. Disneyland is California.
Yes,
okay.
That's where I'm going for Christmas.
Yeah, because last time we talked, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Is this a sudden change?
Yeah, because my good friend Joe was supposed to come over for a European vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but in light of current events, he couldn't. He's not coming over for vacation. So they contacted us and said, "Hey, you know what? We have some points. Would you guys like to join us and we'll go to Disney for Christmas?" And I was like, I mean, I've only dreamed of it since I was like a toddler. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So Disney I think we're going to be there for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So that should be.
It's crazy. All those people have to work to please you on Christmas. Oh,
that's right.
I can't believe you. I can't believe
and
you.
I am going to be that annoying person. I mean, I like to take pictures and I might see your little guy there on your shirt. I got to get a picture of him.
Yeah. I don't know if they have it.
I'm all ears.
Yeah. You like that? And those of you who know me know I have large satellite dishes on each side of my head. So I got this shirt because I thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah. I didn't see the wording before the show, Brian. I'm sorry.
Of course you did. I made sure the cameras,
but it was
perfect.
Okay. It's epic.
Yeah.
It's epic.
Yeah. Come on. So those of you listening, if you're listening via one of our many platforms, audio-wise, I'm wearing a shirt that has Grogu on it, otherwise known as the Child. Most people like to refer to him
Baby
as
Yoda.
Baby Yoda, but he's really Grogu. It's a nice, beautiful portrait of him, and then just below it, it just says "I'm all ears," and it's metaphorically about my big ears too, because I have huge ears. So, I mean, you know what? Hey, embrace those things in life that we thought were horrible when we were younger. Come on, So all right. You're going to Disney. I can't believe you're going to Disney World on Christmas. I thought, oh man, we actually get to see our friends at Christmas, and then
we might still.
Yeah, it depends on your travel, like how long you get there, how long you'll be there. Because we normally, we'll take a week or week and a half and hang around Tennessee. So
there'll be some overlap.
If there is, we're recording. I'll fit it in the schedule.
Can we record at Hattie B's? I bet you we could. That'd be fun. No.
If not, hold on. If not Hattie B's,
McKay's.
Oh. We could do that. We could do that.
That would be pretty.
I'm trying to think, if we could just sit up on the balcony.
And we already did a book episode. Yeah, we shouldn't have done the book episode yet.
if I could get it set up where we could sit up on the balcony, and then it's basically the camera angling so everyone can see all of McKay's. That would be
that'd be a good ad for them.
It would, but also that would be the show to do. Man, I've got all the equipment to do it too. So I'm in. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Anyway, hey, here we are. We're wasting 10 minutes of people's time just BS and having fun. It's funny too because I'd mentioned to you, it's like, man, of all the stuff that we do and just the side talk and just the good time of just laughing, like I gotta hit record and then just release it as Patreon stuff. You know, we don't even have a Patreon account yet, but like just release it. Like that's the good stuff. Like,
there's some good discussions in there. We have
we may have to use the bleep button every once in a while. Who knows?
For you.
Stop. So here we go. We're getting into a pretty cool topic, and it's funny you brought up a conversation prior to the show about a massive CEO who you've always loved, and I also I'm not as in depth as you are in the subject. All right. And the subject is professional wrestling, Vince McMahon, the WWE, that whole corporation. We're not, for those of you listening, we're not sitting here trying to promote like that. It was like, however, we're promoting the ideas behind Vince McMahon's rise to power and all that stuff and what he's been capable of attaining. But it fit perfectly well with today's show, Ed, and Today's show, real quick, it's basically 5 things you must always bring to the table as a CEO / leader. Now, Ed, I added in the one I sent you, I actually added / leader because I felt like it's something that we could do as leaders. We could still bring these things to the table. You don't have to just be a CEO to do this stuff.
I think we do. I think I was I'm sorry. I was looking at it and I was like, these are things that I feel like, maybe you don't master, but I feel like these are some things that in some way as leaders we bring to the tables as military leaders. So I would associate that with as the CEO of a corporation, bringing them to the table. I think there's many more you could probably come up with, and should be interesting. Should be good discussion.
Yeah. And really this basically this topic stems off of last episode I did with John Bonilla. And when he brought up that comment of like, hey, what do leaders bring to the table? And I thought to myself, like, we all the time, you and I, we do these topics. We talk really about like, hey, leaders doing this, leaders doing that, leaders engaging this. And it's like, okay, so what does the leader bring to the table to basically allow those things to take place? You know what I mean? Like, so it creates the snowball effect of leading good organizations. Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. I couldn't agree with you anymore. I think it's interesting. I think it takes some self-reflection, which is also very important too, because like I said, there's 5 things here. But I think if you sat down and, you sat whatever your thing is, sit in a sauna and you're just thinking, right? And you could probably come up with, I don't know, a strew of more areas in here that you bring to the table. Through your course of your 20 plus years as a soldier, a career soldier, and experienced things. And I don't see adaptability, just different things. Like there's an adaptability, there's a flexibility.
Yes.
Heck, the first one you could break it down into 2 separate ones, if you ask me. But let's get into it, Brian. I think it'd be interesting. Good topic. Good topic.
I'm excited about it. It's actually, so the article we found that's kind of helping guide this, it was actually by Mehdi Navani. And so I'm going to introduce it real quick. Here it is. Influential CEOs / leaders are the driving force behind their respected organizations. When we think of the title CEO / leader, for most, it conjures images of a powerful leader who is fearless, intelligent, resolute, resilient, capable of taking calculated risks, a confident decision maker, a smooth talker, and an individual who lives and breathes the company's identity and vision. However, becoming a truly influential leader is far more difficult to attain than it is to describe. So how is it achieved? Experience, connections, luck, and time can all play a role in someone becoming a CEO or leader, but only key characteristics can define true leadership. Ed, that last sentence there, it talks about experiences, connections, luck, and timing. to me, that experiences and that connections, like the other two, luck and timing, that's exactly what they are. They're just happen to be the right time, just happen to be the right luck or the right instances. But those experiences, those connections really are what help develop and roll this into play. You know, you're a senior leader in the United States Army. By the way, real quick, nothing we say or do here is a representation of the United States Army or the United States government. This is all of our opinion. Anyway, but you as that senior leader, your experience and connections, I mean, that's played tenfold for you, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I do. And I like I said, I mean, that's why we see ourselves, you know, we've talked about before things that we'll say, oh, you know, when I was junior NCO, I didn't know that thing, whatever it was. I didn't know how to leverage that particular skill, but now I do. Well, how did you get there? Well, through that experience, through touching the stove, even though somebody told you it's hot, and then realize, oh, that's hot. Let me figure a different way. Those developmental moments makes you the better leader, especially when you get to that senior kind of leader level, Brian.
Absolutely. You know, and it's funny. We can talk about the experiences, but also those connections. It's almost like, you know, I posted something the other day on Instagram, Facebook, and everything, and it talked about like basically, you know, creating those lasting connections. And then in that, I say, you know, hey, be careful. You know, the bridge you burn today may be the one you try to cross tomorrow, and you don't want to do that. You know, and creating those connections. Like in my career, I may have disagreed on an elevated level with someone. However, I've always been very cautious about like if I disagree with them, like how do I approach it? How do I, like, one of the things you don't do if you're a leader or you're you know, aspiring to be, is to sit there and blast somebody in front of a group of people. You will literally sever that tie, and you will forever basically, it's almost like you cauterize it, that it's going to be separated. It can never become another connection again. You know, and to me, it's like connections are big. I got a friend I talk to a lot about like building friendships and connections, and I love him to death. Like he's a great dude, but
thank you.
It's not you though, because you're different. Oh. No. But one of the things I talk to him, like, it's like, hey man, you know, like he's a man of conviction. He's a man of like purpose, you know, and he truly believes what he believes, and he builds a lot off his faith and stuff like that. And I get it. But and what he told me, and he said it on the show like before, you know, one of the things is like he's like, once you say something that makes me think you're just not on the level you should be, I just tune you out. And I'm like, you got to be careful sometimes, because what if you know, that science of likability we talk about. We did 2 episodes on it. I want to say it was like episode 38 and 39.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. But with it, it's paying attention to what people say, because you may be able to draw upon that and a connection that could later prove beneficial to you and them, not just you. You know what I mean? So connections are huge, Ed. Connections are huge.
Yeah. I you know, we talked earlier too. So that's one of those things. Because you don't know when you're dealing with somebody, right? Like that impression that you leave. And then when you do need that something later, I told you before, like I work with some senior level people in foreign militaries, and the connection that you make enables them to not look at the rank on my chest. They look at the person based off of what I give them to make that judgment off of, right? Because they can look and say, well, he's just a sergeant or master sergeant. I only want to talk to officers. And there are some militaries that think that way.
Right.
But when you get to deal with them and then they say, wow, he knows what he's talking about, because you're careful in the things you say and how you say them.
Yeah.
Then that enables them to build that connection. And, you know, you've often said the charisma is part of that connection. I was thinking charisma could be number 6, but for what you bring to the table, but it really can be nested right under the connection, because who you are as a person, when you walk in that room and you demand that respect, that is a connection too, right? Like
absolutely
that you can leverage to benefit you, or you can use to benefit that person or somebody else in the room. So that connection is important, and there's a lot of stuff nested under it that drive it.
You use that word nested. That's
I like nested. That's my new word.
It can be quite diverse.
We should have a bell or something. Nested word of the day.
Nested. Here we go. Nested word of the day.
What?
There we go. That didn't work. That didn't work for you.
Was that a rim shot? Wasn't it like dum? Wasn't it?
What was the word again?
Nested. We'll work with it. We got some developing.
We got some development to do. Hey, so with that though, and where we're getting into is this conversation basically, hey, what are you bringing to the table? What are you doing for the organization? What are you doing for the people? Fork. Yeah, not just your fork. Don't just eat, However, what we're doing is we're going to cover over like 5 actionable traits that these CEOs we're going to talk about one particular one, or just leaders in general. These are actionable. These are things that somebody can say, hey, I can do this to bring something to the table and add to the team, which is important. Some of the stuff we've probably talked about before, but we're going to just kind of take it a little bit different. You want to kind of just start us right off, man? Hit number 1, brother.
I would love to, Brian. Number 1 is relentless curiosity. Successful CEO leaders are always open to learning. Learning. They welcome new progress, research, and opportunities continually coming their way. CEOs and leaders who focus on continuous learning are receptive to other people's ideas, and despite their seniority, are individuals who continue to nurture and grow their skill set and knowledge base. As the speed of technological advancement increases and global markets continue to fluctuate, the ability of a CEO or leader to adapt and learn is paramount. A CEO leader must be able to position the business to success whilst remaining positive and receptive to ever-changing environment. So here it is. Ever-changing environment. That's kind of where I like to go with this. So the person we're talking about is I recently got to listen to Vincent Kennedy McMahon from WWE fame on the Pat McAfee podcast. And that's one of the things. So if you look at WWE, and I get it. Is it sports? Is it entertainment? Is it sports entertainment? Whatever. But what it's done is it's developed over a period of time into something global, right?
Yep.
They're doing shows in Saudi Arabia. They have a United Kingdom championship tournament. It's entertainment at the end of the day. But I mean, listen, one of the most famous people in the entire world right now was created in the mind of Vince McMahon.
Absolutely.
Right? So you got to look at that impact, but that was that curiosity. What can I do to push the envelope? Even wrestling fans don't know, even people who are not wrestling fans know who John Cena is. They know who The Undertaker is, most of them. They know who Hulk Hogan is. Like, they know who these people are that came out of Vince McMahon's mind and his relentless curiosity to push his company forward. And on the Pat McAfee show, he talks about, Brian, how he has an obligation to stakeholders because WWE is publicly traded now. So that's something that he did. Who would have thought, at least for us at our age, my age, that the 1 hour show on Saturday mornings would be this global thing now, selling out stadiums in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So, yeah. And it's because of that curiosity.
Exactly. But I think a key thing there that you added to that was the very first sentence, man. Successful CEOs, leaders are always open to learning. And that's that lifelong learning.
Lifelong learning. How more?
How old are you? No, I'm serious. Like, I'm not trying to make fun of age. How old are you?
49.
Exactly. So you're 49. I'm 42. I'll be 43 this year. So, but that doesn't, but what I'm getting is you and I are still going to school. We're literally still trying to expand our knowledge and understanding.
That is a fact.
I'm not saying that school is for everyone, because it's not. Mm-hmm. However, it's like we both have an interest in something and we're trying to reach a certain goal, and learning is part of that. Like that curiosity, basically, how do I do X, Y, and Z, or how do I become better at this? That's what's key with it, And it's funny. I was sitting there yesterday. I got a haircut. I got my hat on because I didn't put any product in today. But I was sitting there yesterday, get my haircut, and I'm talking to my barber. And funny thing, my barber is 20 years old. I was like, "You're 20?" Like I have and she's a great kid. And we discuss a lot of different things as she's cutting my hair. And it's funny. I say, I got a daughter who's 2 years older than you, like, and it's just like this weird, like now it's like, I feel like I'm a father figure sitting there in the chair getting my hair cut by a kid. Great kid, great head on her shoulders. But what she explained to me was she's a barber because in school, in the high schools here in the El Paso area, they have programs in the vocational area, Ed. And one of them is it gives them the licenses while in high school. They get cosmetology and barber licenses. They go through a program.
Oh, yeah.
And in that, like, so they actually earn something that's going to start paying the bills as soon as they want to start working straight out of high school. I'm totally for trades. If we could get more people involved in all these trades, we as a nation, across the board, like I'm just talking about America right now. Like, so if there are people in other countries, good for you. However, that is amazing. And that's, to me, that kicks the lifelong learning kick, because when I was speaking to her, she's like, well, I want to get a couple more of these certificates and licenses that kind of round out my portfolio as a good, barber, cosmetologist, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's amazing that she's thinking on that level and she wants to do that. And and if you think about it, Ed McMahon, or not Ed McMahon, if you think about Vince McMahon and his journey, do you think he just stopped being curious about like where he could take things? I mean, if you take the organization of what it was just before he took it from his dad, Vince McMahon Sr., to what he is now, you can't tell me curiosity did not drive part of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and there's a work ethic behind it. I mean, the stuff that he's done that's been copied. I mean, and then when companies come along to challenge him, he doesn't give up. He keeps pushing, pushing through, and it feeds that desire to succeed. And so I think that's the same thing that we as leaders and CEOs and even, the subordinates need to understand is we need to have that desire to succeed, to drive us to do better, to drive us to learn more. I mean, for me, I'm going to tell you, I go to school because I enjoy learning military history, and I'm still learning brand new things. I never knew what the Pluto was or the Red Ball Express until the last couple months.
Right.
But I also want to put that drive in my daughter to keep pace because she's getting ready to start her master's program. And I want to be like, oh, well, my dad is just ahead of me. I need to keep pushing. And so when she was waiting to be accepted, I told her, I said, well, I need you to be accepted because if not, I might take a break because I am pushed by her while I'm trying to pull her, I guess, because I'm ahead of her right now by 2 classes. So I'm pulling and she's pushing me and she didn't even realize that we just were talking about this yesterday. And I don't think she really realized how much she pushes me to do better because I want to pull her in my way. So and
that's that, relentless curiosity, man. Like what could she attain, with your efforts and you guys kind of combining these forces? Like what can she attain at her young age? Once she completes these things, where does she go? I mean, obviously the future is the future, but it's
a better rest
amazing.
home for me. She can afford a better rest home for me later. That's all.
Yeah. But
nice
something
facility.
A nice facility. I need a good facility. Yeah. But relentless curiosity and what we just kind of went through, it actually incubates and basically diversifies and keeps pushing forward on the very next topic, Ed, which is that out of the box thinking. Number 2 being
this is
out
one
of
of my
the box
favorites.
Thinking. Yeah. Let me give you a quick rundown and then we'll kind of connect with this. People are creatures of habit. And as the saying goes, if it ain't broken, you know what the rest is. However, even if standard methods are generating the required results, finding novel solutions and thinking outside the box usually allows for the discovery of more effective and creative means to achieve business goals. CEOs and leaders who can think creatively can make his or her company stand out to customers through innovation and productivity. We can continue on the Vince McMahon piece and kind of focus on this, but a name I want to throw out there, and people may say, oh, he was good, he was bad. I want to throw out there is Steve Jobs. I think that right there, that out of the box thinking. If we think about, like, for instance, if you watch the movie, I think it was Ashton Kutcher plays him. It was that one called Jobs. I can't remember. I don't know if it was called Steve Jobs or just Jobs. Anyways, but he plays that role. And one of the key things that just blew my mind is when he takes that very first iPod, the iPod that was so huge, and then he just looks at it. I still have it. He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, but no, this was the concept one. The one I know what you're talking about. But he takes that one and he doesn't even say anything. He just drops the daggone thing in a fish tank, right? And then air bubbles come up. And his answer was, "There's still room in there. You need to make it smaller." That's exactly what he. And to me, that out of box thing, like, the fact that he was just looking at it, he's like, I want this smaller. How do I make it smaller? How do I prove my point? And he drops that bad boy in that fish tank and the air bubbles come up. Like, that is total out of the box thinking.
Yeah.
That's that relentless curiosity feeding that out of the box thinking. Now let's fast forward, or we don't even have to fast forward, because I think it kind of plays in the same time frame. And we look at the Vince McMahon method of building his company. What is the out of the box thinking that you, from your perspective, Ed, would you say Vince McMahon built out of the box thinking? He built that company as what it is today.
I mean, you can go just to different types of events, of matches. I'm going to tell you, like, for me, a couple of big out of the box thinking. Pay-per-view, not a thing. So Vince McMahon tells the story on the podcast, on Pat McAfee's podcast. He mortgaged everything he had, everything he owned on WrestleMania 1. If WrestleMania 1 fails, a pay-per-view, if WrestleMania 1 fails, Vince McMahon is done as a businessman. He's flat broke.
No way.
So it is he views as one of his most pivotal moments, because he put everything in. He went all in on it. He went out of the box. But then there's other stuff. Like, let's think about it. Tribute to the troops, right? Like, who would think, let's take a wrestling ring and let's go to Fort Hood or go to Fort Bragg. Every year they rotate. And let's put a show on for the soldiers to show, our appreciation for them. Oh, by the way, let's have our superstars go to Iraq and Afghanistan to sign autographs and to mingle with the soldiers. These are the things that he's done. Who would have thought, like, let's do that. Like, soldiers will enjoy that. His big thing right now that we were just talking about in some depth is he has a contract with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and he's been to Saudi Arabia 3-4 times, I think, now for events, right? And he's got females wrestling now at these events in Saudi Arabia. He's got them on the posters at these events in Saudi Arabia. That's the type of out of box thinking. And then wrestling being traded on Wall Street, like WWE. Nobody who thinks like that, but that's the mind, right? That's the reason he's a billionaire off of, what everybody says, well, that's fake. Okay, well, it could be fake, but he's a billionaire off of selling fake. So
it's, and if you use the F word like that, and I'm not saying the F word, but the F word is in fake. If you use that around a lot of those guys, I've learned that's not an accepted term.
You must be watching Young Rock. You must have watched.
Great show, by the way. Great show.
It is a good show, but that's the type of stuff, like, that he does as an out of box thinker. And I think you and I, Brian, let's think about what we did. We worked at the Academy, as we have mentioned many times on the show.
It's the birth of the show. It's the birth of this show.
Birth of the show. But how do you reach a student who is not reacting to the normal kind of how you present the material? Well, then we have to think critically as leaders in the classroom, facilitators, how to reach them. And we develop different styles. And I remember Tez was one of the first people I seen throw a bunch of army men on desk and tell people, now put the squad in this formation, put the squad in that formation.
Right.
But he brought it's grown adults in the room. He's throwing army men on the desk. But for those people who don't do it in their day to day, who are not infantrymen, right? For your cooks, for your logisticians, it's a good way for you to visualize that. Oh, I get it. I see the wedge. And I know he probably wasn't the innovator, but he's the first person I seen do it. And I immediately went out and bought a bunch of army men to do the same thing, right? To teach tactics. That's out of the box thinking.
I'm pretty sure by the time I left, I want to say almost every classroom, somewhere underneath the podium, had like that barrel of army men. By the time
I wonder where it started. That would be interesting to know who started that. But yes, I do remember he was one of the first ones I seen do it. But
you know, and if you think about it, and if we want to even dive deeper into like how we teach instructors to become instructors, we use we're using now they use experiential learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that leads back to the whole experiences at the top. And that to me is that out of box. You have to stay in the out of box thinking mentality, because we start a lesson off with what's called a concrete experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And within Kolb, Kolb's methodology there, the idea behind that is to connect all these multiple minds to an instance that they can relate together. And then once you can bring those together, you don't stay in that hub. You project out in different areas so others can connect to other experiences, so you're constant, and you're pulling. But if as an instructor, if you're not able to listen to what's and it's funny, we're going to get to number 5. I think that's going to be associated. But if you're not able to listen to what's going on around you, you can't effectively adapt the learning process to where everyone's gaining some. Hence, think about it. Vince McMahon, he was listening to the audiences. He was listening to the critics. He was listening to the employees. He was listening to his bank account. I mean, he was listening to all these things, and that's what he was doing. He's dicing all this stuff together, and he's forming something, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, but bless his heart. I mean, we have Dwayne. We have Dwayne Johnson because of him.
And you don't hear just, when you hear his name, you don't hear Dwayne Johnson, though. There's a little piece in the middle that always has little quotation marks. You hear The Rock. The Rock Johnson. It's not, like, I'll never associate his name without that in it. You know what I mean? So let's move on. Let's go to number 3, Ed.
All right. So number 3, Brian, this is actually really important too. And there's tons of examples both of us could probably provide, but it's self-managing. And it's hard to effectively manage employees if you are unable to manage yourself. I mean, that's really the best part of this whole blurb, honestly.
Yes.
As a CEO leader, you are the head of the organization and looked upon to make tough decisions. This is never easy. It means the CEO leader is often put under stressful conditions. Exceptional leaders do not only manage those around them to ensure the company flourishes, but also to self-manage and maintain control at all times. A successful CEO leader is the one who knows exactly how to prioritize his goals, takes responsibility for time management, and ensures lucrative turnouts. All right. So first of all, before we even get too far into it, Vince McMahon, his own son is in a wrestling ring, wrestling, and he takes it upon himself to make some changes to the match, how the match was supposed to flow. Yeah, he was fired within 48 hours by his own father for taking liberties in the match. This is recent too.
We're talking the real life stuff, not.
So yeah, his son was going in, and it's scripted. They know these things are supposed to happen. Son goes in, starts trying to make changes on the spot because he's actually a participant in this show. Vince McMahon did not appreciate this, and the son was relieved of his duties because he lacked that. He wanted the spotlight is the basic bottom line, right? That's how I interpret it. It was a spotlight thing. I'm supposed to go in, and then you're going to put me out immediately. No. I want some time. I want to be in front of the fans. And when I think about the self-managing, I think about the shouters and the screamers and leaders that feel like they have to scream at the top of their lungs about every little thing. And to me, that just shows the lack of self-awareness and the self-management tools to deal with that. It's not always that serious that you need to start yelling and screaming, you know?
Oh yeah. I get you. And that's, to me, it's like, real quick, was that the Royal Rumble or something? Maybe
Yes.
that
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, because I'm like, well, what would he done that puts him out? Got it now. All right. You kind of connected that, right? I connected it to that self-managing. I think of Kevin Cruz and I think of his book, Great Leaders Have No Rules.
Yeah.
I think I want to link that to, Ed, the crowd your calendar thing. And that I still feel, and I try to associate it and use it even here while I'm here at school to kind of like map out my time, like when I write papers, when I do research, when I do, all these different things.
Right.
And to me, like self-managing, that's a big thing, is mapping out your time. You worked for an individual that was, I want to say you were in the same organization as I, and not as I was, but because I was later on, but by the last name of Abrams. He's named after a tank, right?
Yeah. Son of Tank.
Son of Tank, right? So from what I understood, I didn't really have the only interaction I ever had with him maybe was like a head nod in the gym in Korea, South Korea, when I was there. So I don't know him, but I know people who worked with him, and it was explained to me, and I kind of agree with him. You couldn't just walk up, knock on his door and say, "Hey, we talk?" He had you had to go through a person to schedule time with him, because he held a very tight schedule. He's very self-managing, and that enabled him to do the things he needed to do. I would almost guarantee, if it's an emergency, it's an emergency, but it better be a good emergency at the level at his level to interrupt. And to me, it's like, some people may think, oh, well, that's just him thinking he's better. No, I think to me, that is, I'm managing my time wisely so I can perform at my duties at my best capability, right? And that allows me to do that. So I think of that. I think of Kevin Cruz. I think of Son of Tank.
Yeah.
I think of these different things. And to me, that's what self-management is, my friend.
Yeah. I think the other important part that we're kind of not talking about, but that I want to bring up. So when we say self-management, right? But this is you so there's a balance, right? There's a work-life balance. And that's part of this self-management, is figuring that out. Like, you can't stay in the office till, 1900, come home, give your family 45 minutes and then go to bed. You have to figure where that balance is. How's that work? And then number 5 is important to, how that works with your family. But that work-life balance, that's self-management too, because, I could take an extra long lunch, or I could go out, I could have my lunch, I could come back and get back to work, so that at the end of the day, those 30 minutes I would have taken normally for a longer lunch, at the end of the day, I can leave 30 minutes earlier because I've accomplished my task. I know that when Kevin Cruz, he talks about the to-do list, and he doesn't like to-do lists. I still use to-do lists. I throw them on the board.
Yeah.
Not so much a to-do list. I throw a checklist up there, and I usually do it for 48 hours. These are the things I need to get done the next 3 days, and then erase it, because, I'm a big whiteboard guy. Erase it as I go, and then I can see, oh, man, I might have to work late today.
Yeah. Now
I can tell my wife, hey, I need to work late because I didn't accomplish all my tasks I needed to get done. Self-management. So it's just one of those tools and a way to deal with it. But I think it's important that self-management is how you balance your life and your work as well.
I agree, Ed. And it's funny you said that. Right up there. You can't see it on my whiteboard.
Right up there.
It's right up there. Or would it be? You can't see it on my whiteboard, but I have a, not to-do list, but it is a to-do list. It's like, these are the things I need to get accomplished. They have to be done this week, right? And I do it, you say 40, I do it for a week, like, because it's normally like papers, recording the show, preparing for the show, preparing for those papers, preparing for a test, whatever. So those go up there. I don't put like my physical events and stuff up there, but those are all like tasks I have to sit at a computer usually and do stuff. But at the same time, I tell myself, all right, I'm going to hash out X time within X day, this day that, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday to do these events to get this amount done. Like for instance, I have I want to say it's a 2,500 word paper due. It's due on Friday. Now, I have a great outline. I have all my references. I've done all the pre-things. However, what I'm doing is I've busted it up where I only have to write 500 words a day, right?
That works too.
Starting today. Yeah. So if I write Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's 5 days. That's 2,500 words. And come on. Am I going to be right at 500 each day? I'll probably be a little bit over, maybe slightly under. But then that gives me, when I finish it on Thursday, I'm going to start some editing. And then on Friday, I'll do because I'll get up early in the morning, Friday morning, and I'll edit it again just because you need fresh eyes. But what I'm doing is I'm using that, like what you just said, that's that self-management. Yeah. Instead of, and I did this before, and I had this conversation with Michelle last week. We always walk the kids to school, and then usually by the time we're done dropping them off, we continue on, and we usually have another, I would say 1.25 miles to walk together, and we talk. And I told her, I was like, the habits that I've built over the past, I'd say 4 years have really increased my productivity in just say doing school. Because when I first started, man, I was winging papers left and right, man. Like it would be the night it's due at midnight. I'd start the paper at 6 o'clock, right? Yeah. And at 6 o'clock, I'm finished. I'm turning it in at about like 11:30 at night. But I'm writing it a certain way and all this. And so now I'm using all these tools like outlines and only writing X amount of words a night and splitting it up and spreading it out and allowing myself, you know what I mean? Like these are all things that are self-managing that have enabled me to, one, decrease my stress. And we've talked about it before, like how, I love the pressure of writing at the last minute. Yeah, it's kind of sort of. Yeah, kind of sort of. It's nice, but at the same time, it's not that great. You know what I mean? So, what you got before we jump over to the next task?
No, you're right. I've been known to be the procrastination king. So, but it's funny because now I break things down, like you said, this many words this day, and I've gotten much better. My wife will tell you, like Sunday, we would never record. When I was starting my bachelor's, we would have never recorded on Sundays because I'd always had a paper due that I hadn't started yet. So I got much better. Now, last weekend was a little bit different because it was so much to it. And I had a pretty good jump on it. I just had to refine it and finish it, right? And I had to go outside and get a bike ride in.
Well, and it's funny, like, so listeners, we didn't record last week, but you and I both had a huge paper, huge, like 25 pages when we're done, you know what I mean? Type thing. And when you said to me, hey man, I would really like to work on this, I was like, I'm glad you said that because I do not want to record. Yeah,
that's self-management. We knew, I really want to record, but I don't want to pay for this course either. So I'm going to do the coursework. Yeah, that's self-management, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, but hey, with self-management, Ed, comes task 4. I think we're just in the building phase.
Yeah.
And some people may like the individual that's spoken about in this. So some people may not because other reasons, but it doesn't matter. So task 4 is risk and taking risk taking and resilient. All right. And we've had shows on both of those topics. The biggest risk is not taking any risk at all, as Mark Zuckerberg pointed out. Like many successful leaders before him, Zuckerberg has taken plenty of risk in his rise to becoming the king of social media. Being a CEO/leader, unfortunately, doesn't come with a manual. Risk is required and is the name of the game. In the world of business, risk can lead to the ultimate rewards. A leader needs to be willing to charter the waters and calculate risk, overcoming the fear of failing. That's a big thing. The top leaders look towards the future, set ambitious goals, and rely on their intuition. Let me tell you something, man. Risk taking, like we've talked about, like mitigating risk and things like that, and using that word mitigating, right? But you still have to, like, at some point say, all right, I got to go out on a limb here. This will work. We took a risk together building this show. And it's not like we had like thousands of listeners a day. We're not at like a Joe Rogan show. I mean, it's just not happening, right? Like, that guy's getting paid massive money for what he does. However, we took the risk and said, hey, let's just keep doing this. And it's not like we get anything for it other than the fact that we get to provide information, and I think about like other ventures, those out there who've done similar to what we're doing, and they took that risk. And then later on, it became their primary finances. Became their, it became their podium to stand up on and to bring content to individuals. And to me, I find it's almost like I bask in that a little bit, because I'm thinking like, this is, you mentioned earlier, you said something about Vince McMahon. He's doing what he loves to do.
Yeah. He said the zeros in the bank account don't matter, because he spent the last 40 years doing what he absolutely loved to do.
Yeah.
That's pretty exact quote on the Pat McAfee show. And that's important, right? Like,
yeah,
because if I didn't love studying military history, I probably would not be doing a master's in military history. It's just, there's an affection there, right? Like, so you keep doing it. If we didn't enjoy the time we spend doing this podcast, we probably wouldn't have done it. We probably just stopped already. We enjoy, that 45 minutes before a show, plus the hour and 15, 20 minutes of the show, plus, not counting your potty breaks and all that stuff. But
had to bring my bladder into it. I got you. All right. No, it's like, it's the same thing too. Like, I could have stopped doing school 2 degrees ago. However, I love the topic and everything surrounds leadership. Like, just the idea behind it. It fascinates me, of the mechanisms, the theories, the methodologies, all these different things, and how now I can, like, that I've done enough research and I've done enough learning within the realm of leadership. Like, I can look at how somebody's interacting with a subordinate and say, oh, you're using leader member exchange theory, and you're using X, Y, and Z, and you're at this level of that. Or, your particular leadership style shows traits of servant leadership and transactional leadership. Blah, blah, you know what I mean? Like, and it helps me understand the mechanism. Like, I love it. However, it's that risk of, I have to go to school. I have to complete these. I have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, that you take. And then on top of that, being a leader, like, the risk we take sometimes as leaders, for instance, that I trust you to complete a task. I take the risk and saying, I need this done
right
here. This is yours.
It's 3D.
That's a risk, bro. Like, that's a huge risk.
It is for sure.
You like how I bring my hand out to the camera? Yeah.
It is a risk though, because at the end of the day, if that task doesn't get done, they're going to come look for you first. Right?
It's not not the guy they get tasked with it always. It's that leader in many organizations. And you'll have the weasel guys, right? You'll have the guys that are like, oh, hey, boss, it wasn't my fault. Jimmy didn't do blah, blah. I shouldn't use Jimmy. That's my dog. But it's not my fault that blah, blah, blah didn't do this. And he just didn't work hard enough. I tried. Like, okay, come on, buddy. Yeah. You need to go listen to some Jocko. Get some extreme ownership under your belt. You'll be fine. You're right. Like, those are weak individuals. I can't handle them. I don't like them. And when I hear people talk like that, dude, buddy, I will zoom in just on their weakness of that. And I will I'm not saying I'm going to, like, destroy that or be like, but I'm going to zoom in on that and say, I'm sorry, you're the leader. Why aren't you, why didn't you pick the right person then? That's on you.
Yeah. Your talent management, not my problem. Yeah.
So when you think about this risk taking and being resilient through it, man, like, where does it kind of gear your mind towards?
I mean, for me, I think about stuff like, because I do study military history, I think about the many, many risks that have been taken by great leaders throughout military history that pay off. They don't always pay off, though. It doesn't always pay off, but it's that lack of a fear to take a risk,
Right.
I don't know what the outcome of World War II would have been if we don't do the Normandy landings. That was a risk. We were fighting into a fortified beach, and heavily, not as heavily as we originally believed or could have been, but we're going into the Atlantic Wall, and that's a huge risk, right?
Yeah.
And then you flip to the other theater, and you got Marines landing in Okinawa. Huge risk. But it ends up working out. Yes, lots of lives were lost on both sides in both instances, but it does end up working out. And in the end of the day, especially the Normandy landings ends up with the victory in Europe. So those risks as a leader, and I mean, you're in an office situation. You're in a much smaller scale than General Eisenhower deciding to launch that D-Day landing on June 6, 1944. You're in an office. It's okay. Odds are your decision's not going to get somebody killed. But you got to be able to make it. Don't be afraid to make it. Now, I'm not saying just make willy-nilly risk. Don't take willy-nilly, it's fine. Think it through, right? Do some analysis on it before you make those decisions to take a risk. But without risk, there's no reward.
And I couldn't agree more with you about the whole risk, and don't be risk. We can't be risk adverse. Yeah, we can't be risk adverse, but at the same time, we have to look at this. To wrap these 4 ones we just kind of covered, we just basically went over like relentless curiosity, out of the box thinking, self-managing, and then taking risk. I really believe this last one that you're going to cover is what kind of combines all 4 of those together. Wouldn't you say?
I mean, yeah, and I also this is our mascot, the dead horse. This is our all right. We're gonna be talking about effective communication.
What? We've never talked about that.
No. A CEO leader's intensity and passion for growth and development makes them charismatic and persuasive people. A CEO leader must be able to communicate what they need, when they need it by, and how things should be done in a precise way so that no one falls short. However, any CEO leader can do that. A leader is consistently transparent and balanced in their communication. He or she is negotiable, succinct, and understanding, making the emotional connection critical in effective leadership. So it's important to be approachable and involve people from all levels in decisions and company updates, so there is a sense of community among your employees. I love my favorite thing overall is to involve people from all levels. I love that. I like that as an idea. I like that as a concept. And I think there's a lot of value from that. So of all of this, I mean, all of this is really good, but that's one of the things that just for me, Brian?
You threw a word in there, and I literally said that word should have been in there also. Like, where you said about a leader is, you said constantly, and then you said, oh no, consistently. Like it should be constantly and consistently.
Yeah.
Transparent and balanced in their communication. Like to me, that transparency, Ed, it's everything. Because what does that build? It builds trust. It builds understanding, shared understanding. We talked about shared understanding when we did the Mission Command episode. It builds within the organization. At the same time, it also, like that constantly being transparent enables those who work with you, for you, senior to you, whatever, knowing that they can communicate with you. They're not worried about communicating with you. You know what I mean? Like I've had those bosses before, Ed, where I was like, oh, great, I got to go talk to this person. I don't, and it's not that I avoided them because like no one, I'm not saying people scare me at all. It's just, I just didn't like talking to them. And it's like, whatever. I don't want to be in a communicative relationship with them. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and I think that the transparency allows the nonverbal communication to happen too, right? Because then if you're transparent enough, then those that you work with or that work for you, they can understand by your body language what you're trying to do, or they can tell when you're frustrated with a problem, or so there's some more communication than just, verbal. There's the nonverbal stuff that's important. And I think that transparency really adds to that. And then, I've always had a problem with yelling and screaming stuff, and it just kind of this. And then earlier, one of the topics earlier just made me think. So this week I'm sitting in my office, right? Nobody works on my floor except my part of the organization, except one sergeant. And so all of a sudden, wham, I hear this door slam. I'm like, what is going on? And then I hear, I walk in there, right? And this specialist that works for the sergeant, who used to be a sergeant himself, right? He lost his rank. He is screaming at this private. I opened the door. I said, what is happening in here? Oh, my bad, Master Sergeant. And I looked at the sergeant. I said, fix it. And I walked out because I've dealt with this guy a lot and I've helped mentor him. So he knew, just by that one word, he knew exactly what I meant. And then he comes to see me because he knew. And we had a discussion. I said, if I yelled at you like that, what are you doing? I'm shutting down, sir. I said, so what do you think that private was doing? He says, well, he was probably shutting down. I said, and it was a specialist yelling at him. It wasn't his sergeant yelling at him like that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, now, this is what I want you to tell me. What message did you send as the sergeant to allow that to happen? Mm-mm. He's like, yeah, I'm not, it wasn't right. He actually went and apologized. He went and apologized to that soldier for letting that happen. And I said, takes a lot. But it's now we're being a little more transparent. Now the soldier knows you really cared. You just didn't know where to step in, right? And he's a newer sergeant, so he's trying to learn. But just this week I don't know why. I hate yelling and screaming anyway. But
that's not effective.
Words told him what I wanted them to know. I said a mouthful, just going, fix it. That's all it took.
But he knew and that was, to me, it's funny. It's okay. So does your rank, does it kind of weigh a little bit in that? Yes, it does in this situation because it's positional. I
can't help that, but
it's positional power. However, you made a comment and you said you've been working with that individual. So you've been creating personal power, referent power. So you've been creating this. All right. I respect what he says because of what I've gotten to know him to be. That's that transparency.
Yep.
Right.
I agree.
And then you used one word, you used it in a manner that was just do this. And it wasn't yelling at them. It wasn't anything.
Nope.
But they understood one word. Like, that was effective communication. And all that had to be said was one word. You didn't have to sit there and berate him. You didn't have to pull him aside and talk to him about it. He knew. And then he came to sue you.
Yeah, then he came and found me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, come on. Like,
I've helped him with the board, and like him and I've, he's a one-on-one guy. So that's the first thing. He came from one-on-one also. His first time he went to the promotion board, I made him sing me the Air Assault song. The 101st song. But yes, I helped him when he was trying to get ready for the board, and I've been giving him this guidance, and and then he let me see his counseling packets, and he's because he's got a troubled soldier, and I was like, oh, you need to close him out because legal's not gonna. So that mentorship piece, I think, helps, and he knows, I'm not a yeller. He knows I'm not a yeller. He knows I don't get involved in his business, but I have civilians that work for me, and you're slamming doors and you're screaming and cussing. And I have civilians. I have to protect my part of the organization too. To include those civilians, even though I'm still in the uniform, they're still my people, right? Yep. And I shouldn't have them be like, concerned or don't want to be there. So, and him and I had a good talk about it, and I don't anticipate it happening again.
And it's fun, maybe, okay, so I could go out on a limb. I could play devil's advocate. Maybe that private, that younger soldier did something that was just stupid, asinine, whatever you want to call it. Maybe he did something that cost money, thousands and thousands of dollars. Maybe I'm spitballing things. No. There are means of discipline within organizations, and there is a need for discipline within organizations.
Absolutely.
I will always state that there needs to be. However, there are also methods of taking that discipline. There are methods that are shown to work, and having those. So what happened was that specialist, he felt he had positional power over that individual. Instead, he should have been working on that personal power. getting that soldier to understand, okay, so hey, I want you to look at this. This is where the mistakes were made. These are the methods you could, and then what is he going to create? He's going to create experiential learning in the event. Maybe that kid did take some risk. We talk about taking risk. Maybe he took risk, whatever. But we're trying to kind of get that out of the box thinking, that creativity of that soldier. You know what I mean?
And I think so. For me, again, not knowing what the scenario was, because I told him I don't need to know the soldier's personal business, depending on what the situation was. But for me, right, that young sergeant could have been like, "Hey, look, bring it down a notch. Take a walk. We'll talk about it when you come back." Let him call, because it seemed very like it just happened. I'm so, let's take a walk. Let's calm down a bit. And then let's discuss, not shout. And the soldier wasn't, in the military, for our listeners, parade rest, right? That ends all conversation from that particular person.
Yeah.
But the soldier is leaning on the desk. The specialist is leaning. There's no formal anything. The NCO is just standing back in the, in the background kind of thing. So you didn't set a tone for a professional discussion. At least that's what I felt like. And again, not knowing the situation. Like you said, if the soldier just hit somebody with his car or just whatever, maybe it's warranted. Again, I just do not like yelling and screaming.
Yeah, but it's not warranted. To me, it's one of the things that's not warranted in the open forum. And to me, if you can hear it, other people can hear it, that's an open forum. And that's putting things in what we've called before in the arena. We don't put things in the arena. We keep it out of the arena. That's a good example of effective communication gone the opposite, ineffective communication. And in each instance, Ed, we've gone through all 5 of these little areas, and we looked at like, hey, what is the person bringing to the table? And this is what I want to like kind of pose to our listeners out there, those who are listening constantly, those who are new to listening. I want you to think about this. Like, what are you really bringing to the table, bringing to the organization, bringing to the people of that organization, bringing to your consumers or the community? What are you bringing to the table that is making things better, right? Or are you just somebody who's going through the motions? You're just going through the motions. You're holding a position. You're holding things up. You're not allowing for the progress to take place that needs to increase capabilities, to increase knowledge, all these different things. To me, it's like you really have to kind of self-evaluate. Are you allowing growth to take place? And I'm not going to get into like a political realm of growth and all this. I don't care about that. What I'm talking about is like, what are you doing to increase the capabilities? Where's the diversification? Where's the Where's the shared learning? Where's the new understanding that's coming from this junior individual within that organization that they could one day take my job? Right. And that's what's important, because I'm not going to work there all my freaking life. That's not going to happen. Like okay, so let's say you are in a civilian sector. You live there, you work there the rest of your life, and you don't care what happens after you've died. But in a sense, it's like somewhere inside of me, the pride is saying, Ed, I hope I've made a lasting change, and then it'll become better. And that's where that's whole bringing to the table. Yeah, like that's exactly.
Legacy.
What you bring to the table is your legacy. That's a great way to end this show. Ed, you have anything else about this before we kind of transition to an out?
No, I did tell you though that I was going to plug my shirt for today.
What's going on here?
Well, this is the greatest goal scorer of all times. Alexander Ovechkin from the Washington Capitals is in pursuit of the all-time goal scoring record by Wayne Gretzky. So he needs 895. He just scored 764 last night. So got a little ways to go. But I wanted to plug my favorite hockey team and the greatest goal scorer in the history of hockey.
So so if you look at like his age, his time in the hockey league, and how much time he probably could have, is it achievable?
Oh, very much. He's only like 35 years old. And he takes very good care of himself in the off season.
Right.
He's he trains really hard, and So I think it is achievable. He also has scored like, I don't know, he's had more 30-goal seasons than almost anybody. He's like second most 50-goal seasons of anybody ever. So it's very much achievable. Very much.
Are we saying like 4 to 5 seasons to reach that?
I think he's going to retire right after though, but I think 3. And Wayne Gretzky wants him to get it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
a lot of scoring.
Yeah. I mean, especially that type of sport, man. It's like, it's not like you have, high scores when the season, when the game's over. Like a 3-2, that's a big thing,
Yeah.
So
well, they just had a team. Somebody just gave up 10 goals in hockey, and that is like laughable at that point. It's unheard of. So I hope so. He's been good. He's been with he's always been with Washington. He's gonna finish his career with Washington. He don't intend on going anywhere else. So I think it'd be awesome to see him actually break it. I hope to see him next year in Nashville when I go back to Fort Campbell.
hey, it's nothing like going to I don't know if they even call it the Bridgestone anymore. I don't know what it's called anymore.
Bridgestone, it's still Bridgestone.
Yeah, going there and watching, because I've gone there a few times and watched a couple hockey games and the Predators, and it's a show.
They just hosted an outdoor game at the Nissan Stadium. They hosted an outdoor game like 2 weeks ago.
I'll be dang, I didn't know that.
Yeah, outdoor game in Nashville. Nashville's become a very big hockey city.
Oh yeah.
Again, we talked about risk, but when they bought that team, that was a risk. You're bringing hockey into the South. Typically, hockey in the South is not done as well.
No,
but Nashville is known. It's had the All-Star game there. They had a run at a championship a few years back. So it has become a hockey city.
They and I do know for sure they have junior leagues around the area with small rinks in the area for kids to learn. So it's definitely something that's grown in the South. Yeah, I just I love it. They have their pro football. They got hockey. I would like to see them get a basketball team, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I just, because they got the Grizzlies down the way. But I would love to see them get an expansion team. So, and hey, we went over some great information. We talked about what, we went everywhere from, relentless curiosity all the way through the communication about bringing things to the table. If people want to connect with us, they want to start dialing in some of this information.
Communicate.
Yeah, use some effective communicate. There you go. And they wanted to bring some information to us and say, hey, here's other things you could think about of bringing things to the table. What are the means to get this accomplished, Ed? How can they connect?
Well, I would encourage our listeners to find us on all platforms of social media as Instinctive Influencers at 101 Influence. And I would definitely encourage them to go to the YouTube channel, give us a big subscribe, a thumbs up, and then leave some comments. Brian, you are frozen. But yeah, I would encourage the fans to get out there, get involved, leave some comments. The Facebook group is a closed Facebook group. However, we have recently added nobody to our staff so that they're there to approve your entry into the group. So just answer the questions, and one of our dedicated staff, Brian and I, will get back to you and give you that access to the group.
It's funny. We have been getting we get comments on the YouTube page a little bit, so I've enjoyed that part.
Joe Rogan says never read the comments.
I don't care. I read them. I'm not gonna. He's probably right. Most of ours are supportive though. It's pretty cool. So yeah, hey, that thumbs up, that's important. Like, subscribe, do whatever you need to kind of be and if there's something out there, hey, if you as a listener have an idea and you're like, you know what, you've done a lot of episodes, you're always, you're at 103. Obviously this episode is on at 103. We like to hear more. I like to hear on this. What are your thoughts on that? Hey, shoot us those messages. We don't mind exploring that. I mean, it's not hard to find content to kind of basically dissect and bring. But if someone wants to hear something else, Ed, I'm down with taking advice, from others. That's open-mindedness.
Yeah, and I'm willing to go out there and look for the stuff, and we can take a risk that we put on a good show based off somebody else's recommendation. I don't think it's a big deal. Easy enough. I'm in.
Oh, I am too.
It is the way.
It is the way. Hey, what was that word earlier? You said that should be like your word. I can't remember.
What?
Do you remember?
Oh shit. I don't remember. What was it?
Oh, now I gotta bleep that out because you just said the S word.
I did say it, didn't I?
No. I'm trying to remember now. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Here you go. There we go. All right. Before we end the show, hey, Ed, as always, it's a great day to it's a great day to have a great day. How about that?
Let's be legendary.
Yeah. With that, I am Brian.
And I am James.
And this has been the Instinctive Influencers podcast. So thank you so much for listening. Hey, remember what I just said. It's a great day to have a great day. Go have a great day.